Where does a leaf get its energy from to make the sugars that it needs to survive? Well, as I'm sure you know, a leaf absorbs light from the sun. Its energy comes from the sun. The way that it captures that energy, hopefully you learned in detail in biology, but essentially what happens is that the light energy from the sun excites the electrons in certain specialized chemicals inside a chloroplast, and then that so energy is transferred to those chemicals inside the chloroplast, and then they use that energy to drive photosynthesis. And photosynthesis takes place in two phases, but eventually what happens is that sugars, that energy that was absorbed by those excitable chemicals is transferred into sugars, and sugars are then used to store that energy until the plant needs it, or until some animal that eats the plant needs it. And so sugars are like the batteries of plants. Plants use sugars the same way that we use batteries. Photosynthetic organisms are all over the earth, well, pretty much all over the earth. They include not only plants, but also photosynthetic bacteria, and they are so plentiful that they have over geological time have changed the nature of Earth's atmosphere, and they have provided much of the oxygen that we now enjoy as animals running around on the surface that we get to breathe. The process of photosynthesis is to take carbon dioxide and water and convert it to sugars and oxygen, which have more energy than the carbon dioxide and water. So they absorb that energy. They create the high energy sugars, and as a byproduct, they also create oxygen. And so they've actually changed the atmosphere of the planet. Ultimately, most forms of energy on Earth's surface can be traced back to solar energy. The hydroelectric plants use the energy that's carried by rivers. Rivers are fed by rain, which relies on evaporation from the sun. So the sun evaporates the water that snows and rains down on the mountains and then flows down a river, and that's where we harness that energy. It originated with the sun, but where we're harnessing it, it's mechanical energy of the water, or kinetic energy specifically. Wind and ocean currents arise from differences in temperature. Different parts of the ocean are warmer or cooler than other, which results in currents. And of course, that those temperature differences start with solar energy. Fossil fuels are derived from decomposing plants and animals and other organisms. Many years ago, those organisms got their energy from the sun, from photosynthesis or from consuming each other. And then they died, and their remains were converted into coal or oil or natural gas. And that's why fossil fuels are so rich, so full of energy, is because they come from living things, which got their energy from the sun. Wind and ocean currents, okay, as I said, arise from differences in temperature. People can generate electrical energy directly from solar energy using photovoltaic cells. A photovoltaic cell, or sometimes we just call them solar cells, can convert energy from light to electric current. Photovoltaic cells utilize the photovoltaic effect, in which certain materials emit electrons when lights shine on them. So there are certain materials that are also excitable, just like those special chemicals inside chloroplasts, or not just like them, but much like those special chemicals inside chloroplasts. And they actually emit electrons when light shines on them. And then those electrons can be, moving electrons. If we can conduct them in an organized way, we can get them all flowing the same direction, then that produces a voltage across the material, and that can be turned into an electric current. A solar cell is formed of different layers of semiconductors. Semiconductors are special, well, not that special. They're elements that are in between metals and nonmetals on the periodic table. They conduct electricity only under special certain circumstances. They're used in computers, and the reason is that you can control the electrical conduction more so than you can in a metal. So semiconductors are materials like silicon and germanium. They conduct electricity only under certain circumstances. By using different types of semiconductors, engineers can design a system in which electrons flow easily in only one direction. If we can get electrons flowing in only one direction, then we have a predictable electric current. When light falls on the surface of the solar cell, it excites electrons in the top layer. And since the semiconductors only allow conduction in a particular direction, those excited electrons move in an organized way, generating an electric current. If the cell is connected in a circuit, then we can use that electric current to do work, including charging batteries.